All right, welcome back here to the Gill Athletics Connections podcast. This is kind of the second part, a part two, if you will. Every year, blessed and honored to uplift and honor the USTFCCCA Boys and Girls Head Coaches of the Year. And that's really amazing to me. The thing we're finding out is that the head coach, certainly a leader, super important. We need to have that. And we're learning a lot about leadership as we talk to these coaches of the year from year over year over year. But we also realize that, you're not a leader if you don't have a staff and a team and parent support and community support. And so we're having a great time learning all about that. Last week, we had the girls National Coach of the Year, Alicia Seymour. She was amazing over in Collierville, Tennessee. We're going to stay in the South. And as a guy who's from the South, who's from Alabama, I think it's pretty cool that both the boys and the girls are from the South. Help me welcome from the great Vestavia Hills. We're going to have some stories about that. Help me welcome the head coach, the wise, the wonderful, the Boys National Coach of the Year. That's so cool, Mr. Richard Anderson. Richard, how are you, sir?
I am great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We started the podcast 6 years. We're getting close. We're staring season 7 in the eyes here as we look towards January. And but we started about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, I was 1 year behind. I had the great idea. I was like, wait a minute, USTFCCA, with the great help of the U.S. Marines. Thank you so much, U.S. Marines, for sponsoring this program. I was like, man, we have National Coaches of the Year. That's a big deal. Why don't we start bringing those guys and gals onto the show? And we have just had an absolute blast learning a lot about those programs, what makes this magical year. We're learning that it's typically not 1 year. It's kind of a buildup, if you will. And so, man, I'm excited here in 2025 to learn about you and your journey and learn about this amazing award that came to you. But my first question is always like, what was it like? We're going to jump around a little bit, but so don't talk too much about this year. But I'm curious, when you got the call that you were named the National Coach of the Year, so you'd already kind of known that you were the Alabama Boys Coach of the Year. What is that like? That just feels like a dream call or email or whatever.
So this is a nice little interesting story. So I got the letter that I was the state coach of the year in my mailbox at school. I got it. We that night had the championship dinner for all the championship coaches at
Nice.
Alabama. And so my phone starts blowing up with people, congratulations, you're the national coach of the year, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm the state coach of the year because I had
Oh,
missed a
yes.
phone call earlier in the day. So I'm like, no, I'm the Alabama coach of the year. And it wasn't until the next morning, and my middle daughter figured it out. She saw the actual post and everything. She goes, no, you are the national coach of the year. And both my daughters cried when they found that, which was really special to me. So
Dude.
that was
Oh,
cool.
that's
Yeah.
funny. I can see all those texts going, and you're like, oh, guys, this is embarrassing. Oh,
No,
no, it's just the
no,
Alabama, not
that's right.
national.
Which is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, exactly. That was awesome.
You
It was,
you barely had time to celebrate being the Alabama Coach of the Year, and boom,
I
you're the
know it.
national.
That's right. That's right.
That is so cool. All right, well, we're going to learn more about this year here in a second. Before we get there, we do what we do here. We uplift and honor coaches and their journeys in this amazing profession. So let's kind of get in our Wayback Machine here and learn more about you as we build up to this amazing year you just had. So for you, Richard, where does coaching track and field? It has to somewhere have come an idea that you could actually make this a profession. Where does that actually start for you?
So I grew up in a small town in South Alabama in the 70s. We did not have a track and field team at my school. I played football, I played baseball.
Mhm.
I started running after football season. I'd always start running, and then I'd go run 10Ks. I'd go run the Vulcan run here in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I'd go down to Pensacola and run those. So I was always running and doing those things. So I never had the opportunity, here's the unique part,
Mhm.
of ever being a true track athlete.
Wow. Were you, first of all, I'm from Alabama. So when you say a small
Right.
town, I got to know what town. What town did you grow up in?
Monroeville, Alabama,
Yeah.
down just north of Mobile. Yep.
Yeah, I know. Well, very cool. So knowing you weren't a track athlete, and I love that because a lot of times my question is, when does track start for you? And I always say, assuming you're an athlete, because we have learned You do not have to have been an athlete to end up
right?
being a coach and be a very good coach. So I love that that is part of your story. What I'm
Yep.
curious about though is I love that you were running. So it's running somewhere in your
Yeah,
heart, your DNA.
it is.
Were you a track fan, even though you didn't have track? Like, did you watch Olympics or
Love
did
it.
you? Yeah, okay.
Love the Olympics. Love the Olympics. Love just watching track and field. In my driveway at our house, we had a pine straw embankment that I tried to high jump over. So it was always something that was very intriguing to
Ah,
me. And I wonder if we had had a track team, would I have run track? Because I was a really
okay.
good baseball player. I played baseball in college.
Mm.
So I wonder where that would have
Yeah,
fallen with that. So
yeah.
but yeah, I love it. It's always been something that I followed and kept up with.
That's a great point. You know, we like to look back. We kind of romanticize the past and demonize the future, by the way. And so we think about sometimes in our past and we go, "Oh, what if? What if we'd had a track team?" And we tend to think about the positives for that. Like, "Oh man, if you'd have had a track team, you would have been a track star." Those kind of things. We forget that the opposite, the not so good side could have happened. You could have done track, gotten into college, and went, "Man, you know what? I miss baseball. I was really
Yep,
good." And then go on and become a baseball coach. And we us track guys,
that's right.
we'd have lost you, you know? So
Right.
I love that
Yeah.
it happened exactly the way it happened. Okay, you're not a traditional track guy. You're not a track athlete. You said you went to college and played baseball. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Where does coaching, where do we get there?
So I was a lifetime football coach. I coached baseball for a long time.
Mhm.
My track story starts the coaching side of it at a little school. It's in the same county where Monroeville is, XL High School.
Okay.
I was the head football coach and AD there. And my principal, Marty Hanks, love him. Even though he fired me as a football coach, I still love him because that's a part of the story. So he wanted to start a track and field team. And I said, yeah, let's go. I wanted to do that in the spring. We had zero facilities. I'm painting a 300-meter track on our practice field, a 3-lane track with exchange zones to work. We don't have a long jump pit, so we dig a hole, put sand in it,
Love it.
put down a piece of plastic. They're running on grass, jumping in. That's where it started for me.
Love it.
And there's something very organic about me starting there and being absolutely blown away that I am where I am
Yeah.
right now with what I'm doing because the journey has been fun.
Love it.
It's been rewarding. It's been a great second coaching career for me.
I love it. Quick question, you know, because again, I went to the greatest university in the world, Troy University. You didn't go to Troy and played baseball, did you?
No, I went
Okay.
to Asbury College, which is in
Oh yeah,
Wilmore, Kentucky. Yeah.
I know it very well. We did their track
Yep.
there just recently, so yeah, I know
Oh,
it well.
awesome. Yep.
Because you know, your teacher Troy puts out a lot of teachers. B, you
Yep.
play baseball. Troy baseball's a good sport for Troy. And any opportunity I get to talk about Troy, I do. So
There you
I
go.
said ask.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love this. Reminds me of a coach we had. Oh man, I can't remember his name. If you forgive me after 300 episodes, not remembering every single one, but I had this guy on, this coach from Kentucky, simply because, much like your description right there, he no facilities, had a track program, really wanted his kids, especially his seniors, to be able to compete in front of their friends and family and things like that. So they held a meet. They dug a hole, put sand in it. They did the discus over in the softball field.
Awesome.
They had kind of in their parking lot. They had kind of a one lap. He said he goes, I think it was like 150 maybe. So
Right.
they did the one lap race and they did the 4x1 lap race and things like that. And I just love the no excuses, no waiting till everything is perfect. By the way, it never is perfect. I
Nope.
love this. Just like, all right, we don't have a facility. Cool. Then what are we going to do? All right, let's put a sand pit over here. Let's do a 300-meter track. Well, wait, track is 400. How can you do that? Well, we don't have space for 400, so we're going to do 300. I
Yeah.
just love that ingenuity, stick to itness, and all for you get nothing out of it. It's all for the kids. I just
It's
love
yeah.
that.
It was just so much fun watching that program grow. Um, we were a 3A school.
Mhm.
One of the best stories from my 4 years at Excel when we had the program, when I started the program, is I had a kid, his name Robert Richardson, and he was a hurdler, 110 hurdler. And he didn't start hurdling until his senior year. You'll appreciate this in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to state. At the beginning of the year, he's not running the hurdles, he's jumping the hurdles. By
Yeah.
the time we get him to the end of the year, he's running the hurdles. He qualifies for state in the 110. He qualifies for the finals in the 110. And then he finishes third in the finals behind Trey Cunningham.
Oh yeah. That's my
And
brother
if you
from another mother. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think Robert really probably knows what a huge accomplishment that was in that 1 year. So, I
Yeah.
mean, those are things that I just keep with me. Those kids, it was, the community's got some disadvantaged kids there, and giving them them having those opportunities was just really special.
That's really cool. That is a kid who, much like you, could have not had an experience with track and field, but you guys and your AD and you and I know you had other coaches helping you with the track and the digging of the hole and things like that. That helped give that opportunity to many kids in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
That
good.
is so cool.
Yeah. It was
So
fun.
I love asking this question about athletes who were football and track. I've never actually asked this in the coaching format. I'm curious because of your career as a football coach and track coach. Were you, and maybe I should say, are you a football coach who coaches track or a track coach who coaches football? Does that make sense?
It does. So if you would have asked me 10 years ago when all this started, I would have said I was a football coach that
Hmm.
coaches track.
Hmm.
Now I'm just a track coach. I have no desire to be involved with football. I
Hmm.
served at that altar for 21 years. And that's a job that if you're not careful, it'll become an obsession. It'll eat you up. And it was time. And that's why I tell you I love Marty Hanks for firing me, because I'd probably still be down there trying to dig that program out
Yeah.
from under. And so him firing me was a huge opportunity for me. I've called him 3 times. We've won 3 state championships, two cross country, and then outdoor this year. And when I've been driving home from those meets, I've called Marty up and thanked him for firing me and then wanting to start the track program too. That's
Hey,
just
d-
life
double
changing.
double click into that because something we've been talking a lot in this year in the podcast, something I've been kind of reading a lot about and kind of studying is this kind of, I don't call it a theory, but kind of this mindset that you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. That doesn't mean you're in a good spot, doesn't mean you're in a bad spot, doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're in the spot that you're going to be in tomorrow, but where
Right.
you are right now today, it's kind of that, be where your 2 feet are. I have to imagine, you correct me here, Richard, when you got fired as the football coach, it felt like one of the more devastating days in your career. Like it was like, oh, I cannot believe it. My career's over. Whatever. All the thoughts that come. I,
Right.
I assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was mad. I was frustrated because I had and my team of coaches had put so much in, and it just came down to didn't win enough football games.
Mhm.
But did we have a winning program? We did, but in the world that we live in,
Yeah.
that's not enough. So I was mad and I was angry about it
And now,
until the
yeah, go ahead, go
yeah
ahead.
until now I
Yeah.
can look back on it with clear eyes
Right.
and see the reasons why we were in Excel.
Mm.
So, and my thought was I was in Excel to be the head football coach in AD. It was an opportunity that I had, and I was very excited about it. But not only did I get to do the track stuff, but my wife and I got to adopt a little 4-month-old boy that's now my sixth grader. So the whole story is like, where your feet are, let's go. And sometimes it's not always pretty and it's not always what you want it to be, but it's what you can learn about yourself and where you are and where you want to go. Yeah.
If we would have had the ability to like show you X amount of years in the future and your son and your happiness, your family's happiness and state titles back the night of or the day after you got fired, you'd have been like, that's a fairy tale. There's no way. That's not my
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
I just got fired, dude. This is the worst, blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
yet you couldn't see it, but here is what was
Right.
coming in front of you. That is
Right.
so cool. Before we move on, I'd love to explore this. I think this is, I'm not sure that's necessarily unique to Alabama, but it was something that surprised me and surprises other people when I talk to them. At most of your schools that you were at as a coach, the football coaching staff, you guys were pretty much all the other sports coaches as well, correct? Like it would have been very rare. Like even your basketball coach would have only coached basketball. They were probably your DB coach and even your tennis and everything. Does that hold true for your?
So that's going to go by classification. So if you're at a small 1A, 2A, 3A,
Mhm.
4A, you're going to have a lot of that as you start to go up and get 5, 6, and 7A. So here at Vestavia, we're a 7A school.
Mhm.
Most of our coaches are just coaching one sport. If they're
Mhm.
coaching something else, that maybe they're coaching golf or
Mhm.
tennis or they're in the way, but it has to do with classifications. It has to
Yeah.
do with resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was at Excel at a 3A school, and I was at some other 3A schools, smaller schools, yeah, we coached. I mean, I coached football, I coached baseball
Yeah.
when I was at Houston Academy. So we did, I
Oh
was
yeah.
football, basketball, and baseball for a while. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember. You know, I graduated high school in '94 from Eufaula, and we were 5A.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
I think we were you know, everybody says this, and it's so stupid, but I say it too. I think we were one of the smaller 5As. Like that matters. You're still
Right.
5A.
Oh, yeah,
Someone's got to
yeah.
be the last one,
That's right.
in.
Somebody's
So it
got to
does,
be the smallest
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. Um, that's how so that's how I grew up in Alabama. Was our quarterback coach was our track coach, our DB coach was the girls basketball coach, tight end coach I think was our men's basketball coach. It was just that's how it was. And so I went from Eufaula, Alabama, and moved to Chicago. And where I went to college, there was a high school, De La Salle High School, right across the street. And I was like, oh, I should like help out, like volunteer or something. And so I called the head coach, and we're talking, and I said, so what position do you coach in football? And you would have thought, I had three heads. He was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I coach cross country." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. My offensive line coach was my cross country coach. What do you?" I was like, "Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't." I was like, "You don't coach football?" And then I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
maybe he's like the one guy." And he goes, "No." He goes, "None of us do." He goes, "We have a football staff. We have a wrestling staff, baseball." It blew my. That was my world. So I thought every
Right.
high school in the country did it that way. It blew my
Right.
mind. Like, oh wow, there's
Yeah.
actual. That was kind of the first of like maybe I could be a track coach. Like, oh, there's people who just coach track.
Yeah.
It never crossed my mind. So it's always interesting, especially when I get to my Alabama brothers. It's like, yeah, guys,
Yeah. That's
it's
right.
still happening. And I
It
know
is.
to your point about resources and how big the school may or may not be.
Right.
That probably does hold true throughout the country, California to Maine, just because of resource. It smaller schools have less athletes, so you have to double, triple athletes to even have
That's
programs.
right.
The same is
Got
going
to
to be true with
share.
coaches and
Yeah.
teachers. So yeah, that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
when you were, it's always, I love that you did say the word fired because sometimes we try to soften it and all that stuff. So
No, I was fired.
I
I wasn't
appreciate that.
quitting.
When when you were fired, is that did you go on to coach other football or was that the end of football?
So when we left Excel to come up to live in Birmingham, my parents lived up here, and we made the decision to come up to help my dad with my mother who was sick. They lived in Mountain Brook, so we decided that we'd come up here. I pretty much figured if I was going to get a job in the Birmingham area, I was going to have to coach football to get that job in some form or fashion. So I got a job at Helena High School,
Yeah.
which is just kind of south of Birmingham. And I coached one more year of football, and that was it. That
Yeah.
ended it, and it was over. And I'm glad I got to do that year because I made some good friends that were on that coaching staff. But
Right.
that's when it all ended. So I just coached football one more year.
And have you been in the Birmingham area since then?
Yes, I was at
Dude,
Helena, and then I came here.
I think it's getting better today, but the Birmingham Mafia, the coaches in the Birmingham area, you mentioned Mountain Brook, Hoover, Spain Park. There are some amazing coaches, track coaches in that area. I mean, some of the
Big time.
and have really helped push the sport forward in Alabama as
Yes.
well. So, I think of
Uh,
Greg Eccles and
yes.
some other guys.
Devin Hines.
Devin Hines, yes, yes, yes,
Devin Hines is awesome. I've learned
love
so
him.
much from watching those guys. Tom Esslinger, who was at
Yes,
Homewood and then at
Tom.
Hewitt. and now he's at Sanford. I loved when I first got here. He was the guy I was watching. What is he doing? How's he coaching his kids? I just, and then you got Mike McGovern at Mountain
Yes.
Brook. That's how I've learned,
Mhm.
watching other people and listening to what they're saying and asking questions.
Well, this is embarrassing, and I hope he's not listening, but he probably is. Who was my guy, my Husky from HT, Hewitt Trustful? He coached all my kids when I was at Troy and back in high school. He retired a few years ago. Oh, so embarrassing. I know it's in my phone.
See, you're asking me names right
I
now, and
know, I know. And I love the dude.
Dobbs, Coach Dobbs.
Coach Dobbs. Sorry, Coach,
There
if
you
you're
go. Yeah,
listening, forgive me. I love you. They go up to Michigan a lot, so he's come here to the
yeah.
factory and stuff. So Coach Dobbs
He's
was
a
actually,
great guy.
yeah, probably one of the first guys I met because he coached several of my kids when I got to Troy. They were HT kids, so I got to know Dobbs really well. But
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
great community
Oh,
in that
yes.
area for coaches. All right, how many years at Helena before you go to Vestavia?
So I was at Helena for 4 years,
Okay.
and we really had started to build a really good program. Helena was a new high school.
Hmm.
I was the head coach. I had a few coaches, not a lot, but the program was really taking off. I walked into a stable full of high jumpers.
Hmm.
I literally had like six kids go D1 in high jump. One of them jumped at Sanford and then at Auburn and jumped in the Olympic trials. Justin Stuckey. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I had some guys that were really, really, really good there. And so what did that force me to do? I had to become a great high jump coach. So what did I do? I dove into that. But being at Helena was really good because I could go around and see what other people were doing. And once we got our track surfaced, we just had an asphalt track initially. Then we started hosting meets, learning about all of the ins and outs of having a good meet. And I will tell you, I will put Birmingham meets up against any meets in the country. They're run, our officials are awesome, our
Yeah.
timing folks are awesome. We're efficient, it's fun. But anyway,
Yeah.
learning all that was good. So I was at Helena for 4 years and really wasn't planning on leaving, even though we live in Vestavia.
Hmm.
And then Brett Huber, who was the head coach before me, found out that I was maybe thinking about coming to Vestavia to finish my career because my son's in Vestavia schools. He said, I got an opening right now. I said, okay. So I came over as his assistant for 1 year. And then he told me he was retiring. And then somehow I end up in the seat of this great job that I have
Wow.
now. Yeah.
Made me think, did you get to coach? It's amazing from a guy from Alabama what the crossplex is. Like
Oh,
when it was first opening, it was kind of like this isn't supposed to be in Alabama. No fan, big fan of
no.
the state, but I'm like, did you ever coach? Did you ever get athletes to the barn up in Decatur?
I'm so hurt
Oh, you
and
did.
sad that I did not because all my coaching buddies talk about it, and I feel like the outsider
Yeah,
because
you
I
are.
just
You
need
are.
I know I just need to do it at least one time because I've heard so many stories about that place
That's what I was
and
thinking. I was like, how am I going to interview a coach from Alabama and not talk about the barn, baby? Yeah,
exactly.
you missed it. No one, so many people listening right now have been to the Crossplex, and it is a Taj Mahal. It's amazing. They do a great job. Christy Mixon now running that facility is awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Before that, we used to go to this horse barn. We had this old wooden, maybe 160, maybe it was 160, old wooden. So plywood, kind of like it was, you fell, you got splinters. No guardrails, by the way. So many, many people went off the fourth or fifth lane, whatever it was. But it was so weird. One, it was always dusty because it was a horse barn, so it was
Yep.
just all that kind of stuff. And oddly, it was always colder inside than outside. I don't know how that happened, even with all the kids and stuff in the middle of it. It was, and but it was an experience, buddy. Holy cow, you
I
missed out.
know.
I'm sad for
I
you.
I'm sad too, and that's the same thing everybody has said is that it was colder inside than outside.
So
Period. I've
weird.
heard that. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
funny.
get it. Every other place I go to, you get 1,000 freaking kids and coaches all
Yeah.
breathing and talking. It's
Uh,
hot. This
Yeah.
was weirdly the awesome, but it was a great experience. One that we didn't know any better because, especially back
Right.
then, because there weren't even that many indoor facilities in the country. I
Right.
think back then we had like Clemson around a basketball facility, and that might have been it. Florida had, around their basketball facility, so no one had a
Right.
great indoor facility. And then the Crossplex was built, and what's amazing is what has then been built after that: Virginia
Oh my
Beach,
gosh. Yes.
Louisville,
In
etc.
Boston.
Yeah, New
Yeah.
Balance. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. I love this. You inherited and then developed a bunch of great high jumpers. So, what were you doing at that time for coaching education? And when I talk
Oh,
about coaching education, I kind of break it into two things: formal and informal. Both are extremely
okay.
important.
Right.
Formal is the USATF level ones, level twos,
Right.
USTFCCCA academies, Altus, etc. And informal, and that's just as valuable. Is I used to call Coach Dobbs, and we would just chat for hours
Right.
about the high jump. Or I called Jake up at Louisville, and picked his brain on high jump because he does a great job. Whatever, those kind of things. What are you doing at this
Right.
point when you got these high jumpers? You're like, oh crap, these guys are good. I better double click into this. What did you do for
Right.
coaching education?
So I knew that if I wanted to move forward with track and field, which I did because I just really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a great sport. I knew I had to get some credentials because I couldn't say I ran at Auburn or did this or did that.
Yeah.
Okay, I played baseball. They're going to go, okay, let's go to the next person. So I went to USATF. I did my level one, and then I did two level twos. I did the jumps and I did youth specialization,
Oh
which
yeah.
I really liked the youth specialization. I like both of them. One of them was virtual because it was during the COVID period. The other one we
Mm.
went to Indianapolis, which was just better, just being in that environment. But the youth specialization helped me really think about my young athletes, these ninth graders coming up into our program in puberty and how we
Yeah.
train them. How do we think about those things? So for me, with that macro over the program, making sure my coaches are recognizing, hey, that's a ninth grader. And some ninth graders are more mature physically than other ninth graders. So for me, that was, if I can take anything from that, it was
Yeah.
that I got that. And there's a lot of other things. There's great people in there. I met a lot of really cool people. Um, so I've done both of those informally. I've called Rod Tiffin up at
Yeah.
Sanford and say,
Good dude.
Coach Tiffin, of course, his son was jumping for me at Helena. I said,
Oh.
I said, can I come and watch how y'all do practice? And I would come and watch what y'all are doing with high jumpers. And so he allowed me to come and do that. Charles Tiller, who was an American and Christian for a really long time,
Yep.
won a ton of state championships. They're really, really good with the distance programs. He and I spent a lot of time talking about distance training and cross country. He was really pivotal in helping me evolve as a distance coach when I was at Helene. I had some really good distance kids there too. Some had a couple run at Alabama and different
Oh.
places. So we had some good kids there. So those are all things that have really helped me. I read a lot. There's a lot of books that I use that have helped me not only, with trying to improve myself as a technical coach, but how to be a better manager of what we're trying to
Mhm.
accomplish.
Do you see? So this is interesting because I have someone who was a football coach and a track coach here. Do you see? I feel like in track and field, there's a hunger for coaching education. So I don't know of any level one that's ever really been canceled because not enough people signed up for it, and
Right.
there's a whole company Altus based around this and things like that. Is there the same culture around learning for football coaches? I know there's clinics and stuff. I get that. And, Glazier clinics, one of the top ones,
Right.
do a bunch of. Is there a
Yeah.
lot of that, and both formal and informal? A lot of peer to
With,
peer as well
with football.
with football. Hmm.
So yes, what I have found is that it's much more open in track and field and cross country. The coaching, and I'm going to use a word here, egos are a little different in track and field and cross country as opposed to football. And I think it just has to do with the type of sport it is. In track, there's nobody in front of you trying to take you out. So there's some differences there. So,
Yeah.
but what I have found in the communities of coaches I've been around, we're all willing to help each other. We all want to win. but we're all willing to celebrate when somebody else is winning and pat each other on the back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a this Birmingham area is just a real good community for that, I think.
I just thought about this. You probably came after Rush Probst at Hoover. Yeah.
Yes, I was after him. Yep.
That was my senior year football coach was Coach Probst.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I love I love Rush. I don't
Right.
agree with things that he's done and has continued to do in some
Right.
aspects, but he was square with us our senior years when he came in Eufaula, and so I love him to death for that. But there's some questionable things there. But at Hoover was a whole different.
A whole different thing.
The,
That was a reality show.
yeah, you remember that? Yeah, two a days.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Oh yeah.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you remember where and who were your teachers for level one?
Um, Level one was Seagraves or
Yeah,
Seagraves. Yeah,
Lauren.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
So he was that. I can't remember. Uh, I should have looked it up because I knew you were going to ask me. I can't remember my.
That's okay.
It's the jumps coach was at Liberty and did a fantastic job.
Probably Sean Venable.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were
Or
fantastic.
Venable. Yeah,
Venerable. And
yeah.
then the coach that I had for youth specialization was from
Mhm.
California. He coached at a smaller school. I think he was a PhD. He was a
Yep.
doctor.
Was that Matt?
Um,
Was that Matt Lydham?
that's it.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
I say
He was really good.
Matt wrote most of that programming, so I kind of
Yeah,
figured that's who you might have had. Yeah.
yeah.
Was that the one that was in person or online?
That was in person.
That was in
The
person.
youth specialization was in person. Yeah.
Okay, so the level two jumps was online.
Virtual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for that would have been maybe like Kaba and who else? Maybe
So Cabo,
Jeremy.
he came in and talked some. Oh, the female coach, I'm on their podcast is on and I watch it all the
Oh,
time.
Marissa Chu.
There you go. That's
Yep.
it.
Yeah, you
Those were
just
the two.
let's just play a game where you give me like one or two hints and I'll try to.
Hints, and you get it because look, I've been trying to remember students' names all week,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
am horrible, man.
I get
I
it.
mean,
Hey, it's my job to know every coach's name, not yours. You worry about your
woo,
kids, exactly.
and it's hard enough because I look at a kid and it looks like a kid I had 15 years ago, and I call him Bubba, and it's not Bubba, it's Rick, or so
Right,
you know.
right,
I
right,
just,
right.
but anyway, all right,
Well, I thought it was cool. Love that. I love highlighting those guys and gals who teach those
yes,
because they're
great,
busy, they're coaching, and they
yes,
give to the sport by teaching level ones, level twos, USTFCCAs,
right.
Altus, etc. So it's interesting about the youth specialization. I think that's still going on. That was one I didn't. It was after my coaching career, so I didn't
Right.
have the opportunity to take it. But I did jumps and sprints and multis for level
Right.
two. It's interesting your take on that. You said you learned a lot for jumps, but boy, being in person, being in that environment was a little different.
I'm older. And I like being in person. I like the engagement. I like meeting people. I like hearing what they have to say. And I know we can do that virtually. I don't know, but for me, it's more enriching to be in that environment. I saw Scott Christensen when we were there, and I had been using his stuff at Helene. I was like, "Wait, I know who you are." I was like a rock star. I thought he was a rock star, man. I was like, he goes, "Oh, you've been using my stuff," and he came to speak to us. I
Great dude.
just like that. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it struck me. I would agree, and all my level twos and stuff that I did were all in person. Obviously, I was way before COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And many people would tell you they had the experience of they met someone that became their boss one day, or they met someone that they hired in the future, or were on the same staff. Heck, some people met their spouses at these
Yeah.
things as
Yeah.
well, mentors, etc. And it got me to thinking because right now, so kind of peel behind the curtain, dear listeners. So you're listening to this probably in December as we're getting ready for next week's USTFCCCA convention down in Dallas. We're actually recording this back in August. So right now in August, hopefully when you're listening to this, I've already hired this person. But we're hiring for a business development manager for our soccer, field sports, and stuff like that. And I had someone on LinkedIn on the post say, "Wow, great, what a very awesome opportunity. I wish it was a remote." And my answer was, "Yeah, yeah, get that, appreciate that. We just, our experience tells us that as a manufacturer specifically, not necessarily, maybe necessarily as a reseller and things like that, but actually behind that door, making soccer goals, pole vault pits, hurdles, etc. You gotta be in touch with your manufacturing staff and shipping staff, etc. And what it struck me when you said that, it kind of tied that together of like, oh, when you were there for the youth specialty, like, oh, there was so much more value because you were amongst people of 100 coaches or however many were there,
Yeah,
versus you still learned on the virtual. So
I did.
someone could probably in this position still probably maybe be effective, but it was more effective when I'm in the environment. That it just kind of put two things together
100%.
for me when you said that.
Yeah.
Just kind of maybe think about that.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
cool.
I love that you're also so when you get these high jumper and stuff, you're working with Coach Tiffin. Might be one of the more underrated coaches out
Oh,
there because he's at Samford. And what a great guy, what a great coach.
oh,
Does a fantastic job. So love that you have him. And then
great
you coached and then
program.
you had his kid. That's really cool.
Well, and then I just sent two of my kids from this past year to them. And let me just tell you, they did a great job recruiting because if they hadn't gotten them locked in early, one of them's a 24-10
Ooh,
long jumper.
whoa.
Yeah. And so they have him locked in. And then the other one's a 100, 200 kid that's, 10 low. I mean, these are two, and they are phenomenal kids. I'm so happy they're going there.
Where are my Troy guys at? Is Mark not talking with you or what's going on there?
So well, he lost out on one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was going. We had one that was going to go to Troy that ended up going to South Alabama. One of
Oh,
my
that
triple jumpers and a sprinter too. Yeah.
that's the big rivalry. That's the worst.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
rather him gone to
that's right.
Sanford. Yeah. Oh man. Well, Paul Brewski, another very good friend of mine. So I don't hate
Yeah.
against track. Maybe in football, I'll
There you go.
do the South Alabama hate, but definitely not in track. Okay, so you're doing well, Helena. You gave us kind of the insight into Coach at Vestavia. Long time. He'd been there for quite a while and done a great job there too.
You're right.
Goes there, and then he retires. And then all of a sudden, you're the big desk in
That's right.
Vestavia. What does
Yeah.
that feel like? Because Vestavia is one of, if I were to name maybe like the top 10 most storied programs in the state of Alabama, if I don't get Vestavia in the top 10, they're 11th. Like it's in the, I think about, you talked about ACA. Most people wouldn't probably remember that, but back in the day, ACA won all the titles.
Right.
Scottsboro, Scottsbluff,
Oh,
uh,
Scottsboro. Yeah. There.
Scottsboro,
Yeah.
they won a billion in
Yes.
a row,
Yeah. Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that. And of course, you'd have to have the Mountain Brooks and
And the Hoover,
Hoover. Yeah, yeah. What's the one of the Tuscaloosa schools won a bunch?
Northridge,
Yep, Northridge.
Northridge.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So there's amazing programs in the state. Vestavia is in that conversation. What's that feel like? One thing to feel like you go and you become an assistant because you're contributing to that history.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
you're the grand poobah. You're the head man there.
Right.
What's that feel like when you get that job?
Pinch myself
Yeah,
first off
yeah.
that I'm now the head coach, and it was great that I was here. Brett's last year, Brett Huber, the head coach before me. I got to see everything, how it functioned. I was involved in all of it, and I could really think about if I had this, what would I do with it? So having that full year gave me a real good opportunity when I asked my AD, Myra Miles, to consider me for the head coaching job. And I had a plan of action, a 19-page plan of action that I gave her about what I want to do, how I want to do it, what I want to implement. And again, if you're Myra Miles looking at my credentials, you're like, assistant coach, yeah, he's done some things here, but head coach, but she was that whole plan of action and just and I spent a lot of time working on that over a long period of time. I'd use it for football and I took it and then integrated it into track and field. And it, talks about facilities and team leadership and academics and middle school. And so they were blown away with that. So they gave me
Yeah.
a shot. And so when they gave me the shot, I was fired up and ready to roll. Let's go and let's take this program to the next level. Because Brett had done a great job, but that we have been known for more cross country, middle distance. That's where our success is. That's always going to be our bread and butter.
Mm,
But what I wanted to do is I wanted to take, not just me, my
mm,
coaching staff, what we wanted it to do was take it and grow the program outward where we're scoring or at least in the conversation in everything across the board.
mhm,
And after, as we rolled through last year, that's what came. Um, to pass at the state meet. We qualified somebody, at least one, in every event. Some events we qualified three, some we qualified two. We
wow.
didn't score in every event,
Right.
but that's the first part of it. The second part of it is I wanted to create a superior team culture.
Mm,
I wanted the kids to understand because we had a lot of really high end runners, and sometimes when you have kids like that, it becomes very individual,
mhm,
and they lose sight of the team aspect of it. And so we had that kind of pattern going. So I wanted to change that, and with the help of the best staff in the country, I'll put them up against anybody. I love them; they're great. Um, we were able to do that. Now, are we there? We're not there yet. We had a good showing last year, but we're still working on the culture and making sure we're taking care of all of our disciplines and events. So when I got the job, I was ready to roll. I was excited, and I'm very energetic anyway, even though
yeah,
I'm
I can
old.
tell.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. So yeah,
So, Richard, what is interesting to me, so one of the, we started this 6, almost 7 years ago. You're going to create a podcast. You got to have a name. It can't just be the Gill podcast, right? And so
right.
we settled on Connections, which was the right name. But one of the weird thoughts and ideas for me was to have as a name is Mythbusters. I love busting myths.
Uh,
Richard, if I take away the name Vestavia Hills and just say this is Coach Richard Anderson, and you just say everything you just said there, I couldn't tell if you were coaching college aged kids or high school aged kids. I want for you guys and gals that are listening, think about whether you are a college coach, so you know what that job entails, or you think you know what a college coach job entails, and tell me what he just said that does not pertain 100% to coaching in the college level. Culture, all the events being covered as much as possible based on your resources and the talent that you get, et cetera, et cetera. What was the other part that really struck out to me? Culture, the kids. The individual. You can have a stud, and well, everybody would
yeah.
love that stud, but sometimes that puts a crack in culture. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out, and I want to kind of dig in there. Even your 19-page action plan. I guarantee you a lot of people right now, maybe the ones that aren't coaching high school, go, oh, yeah, I did that for college, but you don't do that for high. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe you do, and maybe that's
Yeah.
what helps get the job, and then helps start the success. So tell me about that, about culture change, because culture is the hardest thing in the world to change and improve, but the easiest thing in the world to destroy. So what do you
Well,
do? Your staff, and when I say you, I love how you continue to keep catching yourself there. It is your
it's
staff,
we.
and
Yes.
it's your principal, it's your athletic director, it's your
Yes.
other coaches on other sports, by the way. They affect
It
your
is.
culture in track and
Yes.
field and vice versa. So, what do you do? What are some of the things that you either put into action or had to stop from happening? Someone's listening right now going, I need to help improve my culture. Help us learn that. What did you guys do?
So what we have done over time is try to help the kids understand that maybe you are a thrower, but you can support the sprinters.
Mm,
You may be a sprinter, but you can support the jumpers. And here's the big one. You're a distance runner, but guess what? You can support the other group. Because again, our distance group has been, they've been the ones that have carried
all right.
the trophy because they've been so good. And getting that bunch to buy in, this is a team sport. We're competing for a
Okay.
team trophy. We want to win. I want to win the individual races, but at the end of the day, I want to get as many points as I can get in those particular races. But beyond that, it's not about just points and trophies. It's about creating a culture where the kids can feel like they're being successful. One thing I love about track and field that's different from other sports I've coached is we have 265 kids on our team. They get to compete They get to compete every week at a JV meet or a varsity meet. Every single one of them can compete. And some of my favorite moments is watching the kids in the last heat of the 800, which is the slowest heat, and they win the heat. They come through with their arms up, celebrating because of the PR. Those have been some of my favorite moments, period.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we try to instill in them that it's about caring about each other. It's about running for your teammate. When it gets hard for you, think about running for the guy over there next to you. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about that a lot with cross country.
Mm-hmm.
Today, one reason I was a little rushed getting in here, we had split the entire team up into 12 different teams, all mixed up by events, gender, and grade. Each group had two seniors at the head of it. So we're going to take those groups and do team building stuff with them, cultural stuff with them. And then after this 9 weeks, we'll flip it. We'll mix them all up again and we'll start again. That's just going to give them exposure to different people because the throwers are throwing on the lower field.
Right.
The pole vaulters are on the pole vault pit. Our distance kids, we practice at 6:30 in the morning. They're not even practicing with us.
Right.
So helping them to see that. And I will tell you, at the state meet last year, it was phenomenal. Our kids supporting each other. And look, we could have come away winning it or not. I would have still been happy because I had coach after coach coming up and going, Coach, your kids are bringing so much energy. And these are our kids that are supporting
Right.
our other kids. And I mean, when I stand back and look at that, it just, I think about the staff. I think about everything that's gone into it, but to see it happen like that, and now we get to keep pushing that forward. It's exciting.
Do you think, and don't answer the question when I ask it to come up with little
Okay.
qualifiers on here, but
All
do you think it's easier or harder to build culture in football or track? And the
right.
reason I ask that is because in football, we're always there's some separation in practice, but we're typically all together in some form or fashion, at least at some point during the day when we, run ones versus two, stuff like that. And even if I'm the star quarterback and I'm the greatest star quarterback, boy, the Birmingham area has put together some really good star quarterbacks. I
Yeah.
still I still know, oh, if my offensive line doesn't block, I'm toast. If my receivers don't catch, I'm toast. There's still a little bit of like, oh, I am dependent on the other person. Even if you don't
Right.
play defense, if you don't play two ways, and so you don't care about defense at all, it's like, well, gosh, if I don't cheer for my defense, if they give up 56 points, well, it's hard for me to score 57. So
Right.
we're always together in track, and you nailed it. You gave the example, stereotypically, distance kids are always on the roads, throwers are always at the cages, jumpers are always at the sand or the pits, sprinters are always on the track, and rarely do we all come together at the end to do a kumbaya or something. It's just
Right.
so. What do you find? You've done both. What do you find easier or harder culture improvement, football or track?
So I would say that football is easier to form a team culture.
Now,
You've
are
got
are, are
one.
you saying that because you're now a like I want the real? If you think it's
No,
football, say
well,
football. We
I,
learn
I
from that.
do. The reason why is because with football, there's an ultimate goal at the end of each game, and it's a score that's attached to all of us.
Mm,
Where at a track meet, I can have three kids win their event, even at the state meet, which we have some success there,
right,
but it's not the same. And sometimes those three kids, that's all they care about because they know they're
right.
there. So I think that's where
Good point.
it's harder.
Mhm.
And I think the kids that are true track kids that have grown up in track and, they've been used to going to, the younger kid track meets, the USATF, the AAU kind of stuff, and being very individual there. So, instead, I love having kids that have played basketball or football that come and run for us because they bring that team spirit with us.
Mhm.
It's like Justin Stuckey, the high jumper I had at Helena that went to Sanford and Auburn. He was a great football player and a great basketball player, and that's really what he wanted to do. But he brought the team mentality to our entire Helena team. So having those kind of kids in there, where you have other kids that they've done track their whole life, and it's been very individual for them.
Right.
It's hard sometimes to instill that in them.
So you gave us one like concrete example of what you're doing right now with the groups and the two seniors leading and for 9 weeks, things like that. What are some other, because it's one thing, I try to peel the layers back. A lot of times when you ask someone, what do you do for culture? They'll say some things that you said, right? We instill that you're doing it for the person next to you and things like that.
Right, right, right.
But yet we'll also always say you can talk all the talk you want if you don't walk the walk. So I'm always trying to get
That's right.
to the walking part. So you gave us one, the groups with the seniors and changing them out after
Right.
9 weeks. What are some other like concrete things that you've done to help bring the team together? You said you had a lot of success. I love when other coaches lift up other coaches. So I love that other coaches, they could have not said anything. They could have been jealous and probably were a little jealous of like, man, I wish my team was like that. And that's good because maybe they'll go do some things to have that. But they didn't have to come up to you and say,
No, they did not. And that's
right?
the
I
track
love that.
community.
Yes, I
Yes,
love
it's
that.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So,
great.
so
And I
what are some
love hearing
things that
that.
yeah, I do. What are some specific things you guys do for culture and positivity?
So let me start with the cross country and track program. So one of the things we always start with is we go on a cross country camp right at the end of summer, right before we start school. We go up to a COY, Tennessee. We've gone up there every year since I've been here. We go whitewater rafting. We do team building. We have them split up into groups. We have really specific sets of questions that we want them to ask and look at. Where are we? Where do we want to go? How do we want to get there? And we let that organically kind of happen with them without.
Yeah.
I have a great distance coach, Coach Catherine Torino. She ran at Montevallis, young, energetic. You think I got energy? She outdistanced me big time. But she does a fantastic job with creating sets of questions for them to really explore who we are, what do we want to become. If we have a one-page description of our team on mile split. What do we want it to say? And then we talk about how do we want to get there? What are the actions we have to take to get there? And that has been really, really successful for us with our cross country and distance program. Last year, it was fantastic. This year, it was of course, it's our fourth year, so these kids don't know anybody but us now.
Right, right, right.
That makes a difference. It
Yeah,
does. You
yeah,
can get kids to buy in, but
yeah,
sometimes some are resist. But
yeah.
anyway, so it's great.
Again, I just want to point out when you talk about a 4 year, if I didn't know you were at high school, I thought you were talking about college because that's the exact same thing we would say in college. So just want to point that out. How many,
Yeah,
you said you have 265. That's
yeah.
crazy. How many, when you're talking about like this camp and stuff, how many are you holding on on the cross country roster?
All right. So the cross country distance roster fluctuates between 60 and 65. So yeah, so last year we had to hold our first tryouts.
Okay.
We allow our kids to come out in their first year as kind of a tryout year, but for the distance program, we had 95 kids signed up, and we're like,
That's
we just
amazing.
it is. We just couldn't do. It's too many, and I don't like to cut anybody,
Give
but
us a someone is sitting there thinking like how in the world do you even have 60, 90 kids and to even have for cross country. Give a step back for one quick second and give us for people who are wondering like the size of Vestavia Hills high school, how many students. You already mentioned, are we at 7A now? We were 6 when I
oh
was there.
yeah,
We're at
we're
7.
7A.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
we're
give us kind of the
7A.
size of the school so people understand what we're dealing with when it comes to
We're
90 kids.
about 1,700 students.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not. I mean, that's big. I
Yeah,
graduated with 125, so
right.
600
Yeah,
students. But there are certainly much bigger high schools in this country. So
yeah,
1,700. So you get 90 that come out for cross, not track, cross.
right. That's right.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude, that's
it's
amazing.
well, and that's we had to hold a tryout, and so we put out. We're doing a tryout, which I struggle with that
Sure,
because you
agreed.
never know what you're going to get from a ninth grader when they become a senior. It's, it's like the
Especially
kid.
in distance running.
Oh, no doubt. So, but we just had to. So a lot of them self-cut when they found out we were going to do a tryout. And we didn't have
Sure.
to cut a bunch, but we did. We had a kid that was actually a sophomore that we cut. And it was very hard to cut him. He'd been on the team, and we sat down and I talked to the kids when I cut somebody. I don't just put a list out there. I'm
Good.
looking at them in the eye. And I talked to this young man. I said, look, this is where we are. This is what we have to do. But if you want to come out and come out again for your senior year, we invite you to come back. And guess what? He rolled back out here this year, went through the tryout process, and he's back on the team.
Wow.
I mean, it's just stories
I
like
love
that.
that.
It's
I
really
love that.
cool. But
I tell you, interesting concept there about saying that, we're going to have a tryout, and so we're going to cut, and that self cuts people. That might be the ones you really only want to cut, because it's one thing that kid has done 0 miles, so they, once you start running them, they can improve if they have
that's
that
right.
given ability.
Yeah,
But being a competitor is a little bit harder to coach. You gotta, there's, especially as in high school, there's got to be some things up until eighth grade that family and society and friends have to have already instilled into you. If you're not a
that's right.
competitor, I don't know. It doesn't matter how good you are. I'm not sure you're going to be very good if you're not a competitor. So there's almost like that. I wish you could like do that every year. Like that's your tradition of like, hey, we're going to have tryouts, and so the
Right.
people that don't show up, that's the ones we cut and we move on. But then
You- uh,
people would start like, oh yeah, just show up and you won't
Just
be
show
cut.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You got to find a way like to keep that low key, which would be impossible with a bunch of
That's right.
14 to 18-year-olds. But
Yeah.
that's interesting, the competitive side there. Yeah. Hmm.
Well, and the kind of the reputation of the track team up until we kind of took over was it was outside the upper echelon. It was a little
Yeah,
recreational.
sure, sure, sure.
Some kids would come in and treat it like almost a PE class.
Hmm.
We had to get rid of that.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of that. I didn't, that's not what we're doing.
Yep,
We're a JV varsity sport.
yep, yep.
You're not going to go miss practice 3 days in a row. I
Mhm.
mean, what would the football coach say if you
Mm.
said you're going to miss 3 days in a row? I mean,
Right,
so we
right.
try to treat it. We ask them, our standard is very straight up. Be here, be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and have a great attitude and give great effort. If you
Sure.
do those
Sure.
things, you'll be fine.
Do you when the kids that you cut, non-seniors, because
Right.
this is their last year, do you give them like a, hey, so if you really want to make this team, here's a program that if you run it, it'll be hard for you to be cut next year. Do you give them
Yeah.
almost guidance, if you will?
Absolutely.
Oh,
So,
good.
Coach Torino does a great job. She's always offering, if you want me to give
Love
you
that.
something
Love that.
that you think will help you, we'll be glad to do that. Yes, it's about those relationships.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do,
Yeah.
but I think if you do it the right way, it can be a learning experience for the kid,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and that's what you want it to be.
Yeah, I love that because again, the word development is really a hot topic right now with track and field, specifically with high school to college. Um, and I don't know, all the events have to be developed. If Rod Tiffin signs a 10-10 kid, he's still got to develop that kid to become a 990 kid to make finals and
That's
stuff,
right.
right?
That's
That is
right. Yeah.
development. Out of all of our events, distance is probably, at least in the early stages, one of the bigger percentages of improvement of development. So, like, I just think about this ninth grader who didn't even know there was cross country, didn't even know that I would want to run cross country, so didn't do anything over summer because I didn't know anything. I thought I was going to
Right.
play football or something. I don't know. And then his friend joins, and so he's like, "Well, I want to do it too." And well, he or she is probably not going to be very good. They never ran a step over the summer, and better than anybody. Champions cross country championships are won in the summer, not in the fall.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
but I think about that kid going, okay, but how do you, if you can't because of staffing and numbers, which you're at, if you can't take that kid on as a freshman, well, then how do you figure out some way for them to almost try out for the whole year? So next year, sophomore year, they come in and they've done summer running, or they at least have shown you like, oh yeah, I'm really interested. I did the runs or whatever. So it's like, it just feels like, man, if you could somehow like cut with care.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And encourage
that's cool.
them that it's just a numbers game.
Yeah.
And at the end, we have to make some decisions financially and
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we're traveling and
That's
those
right.
kind of things. But yeah, we try to do it as gently
I
and
love that.
as proactively as we can.
I love that. And you never know, you're dealing in high school. You never know that kid has a sister 2 years younger, brother 3 years younger, that one day might be your super stud coming
That's
in.
right.
So
That's right.
cut with care. I love that. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's cross country. Move us into track. What are some things you do? Because cross country feels easier than track because we're
it
all running
is.
we're all running
Yeah.
the same events, right?
Right.
Now you've got that throwers over there, distance runners over here, sprinters over here, et cetera, et cetera. What are you doing and your staff doing in track to help build that positive culture?
So in my plan of action, there's a leadership component. And it is, I'm going to tell you, the biggest challenge for me is finding time to teach leadership intentionally. We ask our kids for a lot of time. And it's hard for me to ask them to stay an hour after practice once a week when we're already, I mean, we get them from the beginning. We're
Right.
conditioning right now. I mean, we
Wow.
started conditioning yesterday. We get them from the start all the way through
Right.
May.
Right.
So that's been a challenge. So the avenue I've taken up until this year is I've really tried to sit down with my individual coaches and talk about how in their individual groups they can communicate to their kids, you know, our goals, what we're thinking about, what's important, why is it important to um, get involved with these other groups. And then what we've done is we've taken kids out of each group and formed leadership council that can help them then go back out into the groups. We have a smaller group go out into the bigger community and bring that back together. And we've never taken them on a retreat. We're taking that group on a retreat October 25th this year. For it's only one night, but it's
Yeah.
so hard with the end of cross country right into indoor, and
Right. Right.
but
Right.
we're going to go one night and start that. So that's going to be another thing I think that'll really help with that.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest with you, our seniors last year bought in to what we wanted to do, and they were the tip of the spear and they led the way.
That's
When I
cool.
turned around and looked at them at the banquet, I wanted to talk to them straight to their face. It about ripped my heart out because I mean I was literally looking at not just points.
Yeah.
I'm looking at quality kids
Yeah.
that bought into what we were doing and were leading the way with examples, both just their actions and their words and how they supported each other.
All right, I'm
But
going to
it,
challenge
yeah, go ahead.
you.
Okay.
So one of the things that we started here on the podcast this spring was the Gill 1918 project. And what that is, you know, one of the complaints that we get for the Gill Connections podcast is, Mike, it's an hour, hour and a half. That's hard to listen to. And you're right. And I make no apologies for it, to be real frank with you. Think this is what our coaches deserve, a full length, long form podcast, if you will, about their journey. So we're going to continue that. But I hear you. So I'm trying to find ways that, to make some other things more palatable. And so what I came up with is the Gill 1918 project, which is 10 to 30 minute episodes. And there we can't remember during our pre-interview, and I give this to every coach that we have on the show, we don't talk X's and O's. And you guys and gals that
Right.
have listened for a long time, we don't get into like, what were those high jump workouts or what are those cross country workouts? We just don't get into that. There's other great podcasts out there that do that, and I bless that and encourage you to go find them and listen to them. But the Gill 1918 project can get into X's and O's, but also we're making it more of like the TED Talks of track and field podcast. So I say all that to say, Richard, I'm going to challenge you, and I'll send you information next week on it. I think what you just talked about with your counsel,
Right.
I think that's really important for other. I guarantee you, half the audience listening, their ears perked up, are like, "Whoa, it's okay. Wait a minute. So how do so many questions, right? So how do you pick that? Well, what do you do? What are you doing on this retreat? How'd that work out for you? Blah blah blah." So
Right.
I'm going to challenge you to record a Gill 1918 about that to help other coaches.
Oh, I'd love to do
I'm gonna
that.
lay that down, and we'll get to
Yeah.
that. Okay. So you're at Vestavia Hills. You didn't. So you didn't when you came in to become the assistant coach, there wasn't like, oh, you're going to be the head. You didn't even
Oh
know
no.
until the
Oh
end.
no. I was happy being assistant coach.
Yeah.
I made a lot more money, and trust me, I don't do this for the money, but being in a city system and I made more money. I was happy until I wasn't. And it wasn't that I was unhappy, but I realized I like being the head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
About 9 to 10 weeks in, I'm like, I still like being a head coach.
Hmm.
So when Brett told me that he was leaving, I was just, I love Brett Huber. I talked to him 2 nights ago. He's down in Jacksonville, Florida now.
Oh, good.
And so I, but I love being a head coach. I like
Yeah.
being in charge. All my skill sets throughout my life have come together about where my feet are right now,
Right.
like you
That's
said
it.
early on. And it's just, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and where I'm supposed to be doing it. So yeah,
I like the way it went down because even though it wasn't planned, being on the staff for the year as an assistant coach gave you a little bit of a cosign for the kids when you became the head coach. It was a little bit like, oh, okay, we know this guy. He knows what we're about, at least for a year. When you're brand new into a program, which you've had experience, there's a little bit of a, not a little bit, there's sometimes a lot of bit of learning
yeah,
curve.
that's right. That's right.
And everybody's got to kind of like, okay, how's this guy going to be? Is the last guy was, I really love the way the last coach did this or that. How's this guy going to be doing for this or that? So
Right.
there's a little bit of like, you got to learn each
There
other.
is.
Here you
Yep.
had some learning. So I kind of like that unintentional cosign because you weren't brought
Yep.
in purposely to become the head coach, and it worked out the way it was supposed to be. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So what year of head coaching at Vestavia was 25?
So last year that was year 4. This is year 5. I'm starting year 5 at Vestavia.
As
So as
the
a head, so 4 years. So this is my 4th year as a head coach.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
had to think.
yeah, I know. Hey, okay. So
Math.
I no,
I'm a social studies teacher.
it's so funny. I'll let you in if you haven't heard this. Me say this on the podcast where I'll make this joke all the time. I'll say, "Hey, remember, I went to high school and college in Alabama, so math not my strong." So, yeah. So as soon as you said that, I was like, "Oh
There
yeah,
you
I
go.
get it." I was
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, both
math.
of us." Yeah.
Yeah,
You at least got out of state for college. Vice versa,
yeah.
everybody.
Well, I
So,
graduated from Auburn though, so
oh, did you
I
really?
played oh
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
was baseball 2 years at Asbury, and I graduated from Auburn. But
Is
yeah, so
that right? Okay, so
oh yeah,
it's funny. Everybody, when you're not in the state of Alabama, even when you're in the state of Alabama, everybody asks you, who do you root for? Alabama,
right,
Auburn, whatever. And I grew up close to Auburn, so I was an Auburn fan.
right,
But then I went to Troy, so I always tell people I was like, I went to the greatest university in the world, and they're waiting for me to say Alabama or Auburn. I'm like, I went to Troy University.
Troy.
My son's name is Troy, so that tells you,
Nice. I
yeah,
like
how
that.
big of a deal that school is for me.
Yeah.
But
And I
but
got to tell you at some point about a little Auburn story in track and field. So
okay,
whenever you,
well, let's hear it now, baby. We're talking about it. Let's
all right,
go.
so this is something that's just really remarkable to me. So when I first went to Auburn, I was going to be first I was going to be a journalist, and that lasted about a quarter. And then I decided I was going to be a PE teacher. And so one of the classes that I took was the fundamentals of track and field.
Oh yeah.
So guess who my teachers were for that class?
It has to
None
be
other than
Coach Rosen.
Mel Rosen and
Yeah.
Harvey Glantz.
And Harvey. Oh,
Both of them. I mean, who would have thought, all the way back then that
yeah.
I would have had that exposure to
Yeah.
those guys at that point in my career when I had no idea that I
Right.
would ever coach track and field. But I just love that story because Coach Rosen was awesome, and I mean
Yeah.
he was really intentional in helping us
Yeah.
learn the sport. So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's
I
so
just
cool.
love the story. Yeah.
So because you were kind of a little bit of a track geek through high school, even though you didn't have track, like, Harvey had a heck of a professional career. Was there kind of a little bit of like, holy crap, this guy was a gold medalist?
Oh, oh, absolutely, man.
That's
I was
cool.
blown away. Yeah,
That's
it
cool.
was really cool. Yeah.
You were the only one. Everybody else in class like, yeah, whatever. And you're like, dude,
Yeah.
you got to know what he
That's
did.
Harvey Glantz. And that's Mel Rosen, who's an international coach too.
Dude, Coach Rosen, God bless
Yeah.
him. Rest in peace. What an amazing man. And Harvey Glantz, that's right. We
Yeah,
lost
I
Harvey
know it,
too.
man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Harvey, when I first got to Troy, Harvey was at Alabama and had just gotten to Alabama. And we went up to the Alabama relays. And they used to, and I wish, Dan, if you're listening, I wish you guys would bring this back. On Sunday, they would score all the relays, 4x8, DMR, all that stuff. And they would give a team trophy for that. And so here comes little scrappy Troy. We actually win the stinking meet. We beat Alabama, all the other teams, whoever else was there,
Nice.
we win, right? And I go up to Harvey, and I'm so young and dumb. Now I'm just old and dumb. But I go to Harvey, and I was like, Harvey, or as I Coach Glantz, I was like, tomorrow when the newspaper says Troy won, would you send me the clipping? I just beaten him. It was one of his first year. I say I was, I didn't
Right.
do anything, but I was just like, I look back, I'm like, what an idiot! Like this guy just lost his home meet, and to Troy, but he was the most gracious, nicest. Like it always stuck in me. Like, oh, this guy big time came from Auburn.
Yeah.
He's big time in Alabama, and I was I was a student coach for crying out loud, and
Right.
talked to me like I was somebody. And it
Yeah.
always stuck with me with Coach Glantz. I really,
Yeah.
really did
That's
like him.
cool. Yeah.
Okay, so 4 years. At the end of this fourth year, you win this amazing award. So give us kind of the lead up. We're kind of learning as we've talked to all these national coaches of the year that it's not like you go from 0 points at the state meet to 150 and you win. It's usually a journey that gets to this amazing year. Tell us about that journey.
Okay. So when we came in and took over, we kind of knew that this class of seniors we had last year had the potential to compete. Our biggest competitor is Hoover. If you can see behind me up there, a bunch of red maps,
Mhm.
those are second place trophies, second place to Hoover, almost exclusively, unless it's a cross country coach. I mean, cross country trophy, that would be Huntsville. So, I mean, those are our rivals, and Hoover is just, they're a machine. But we we don't focus on Hoover. We don't focus on Huntsville. We focus on us and us getting better. I don't talk a lot about other teams. I talk about what we have to do, and our staff talks about what we need to do. We don't talk about, we'll talk about other kids in the distance races that you might need to keep your eye on, things like that. But we're not uber focused on their numbers and those kind of things. So as we progress through these last 4 years, we were able to expand from just being a 32, 1600, 800, 4x8 team that scored a buttload of points in those events to now scoring in everything except for, I'm looking at my list, 5 events.
Wow.
We scored and double scored and triple scored in some events this past year. And that is just because I have a great staff. I cannot brag enough about my staff. I have 12 coaches.
I was going to ask you how many you have for
I have
265
I,
kids. Yeah.
I have 12 coaches.
Wow.
I just and I'm blessed. They're all on board. One of my favorite books is the one by John Gordon, The Energy Bus, where he
Yeah.
talks about getting everybody on the bus
Hmm.
and getting in the same seat and
Hmm.
everybody's going the same direction. I really feel like that's our coaching team. And so having them, and then they're just really good at what they do. And then on top of that, the kids, we had some good athletic kids who bought in. They believed in our training. They trusted our training, which in this day and age can be tough.
Yeah.
There's so much training out there on social media. They're like, Coach, why aren't we doing this? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
why aren't we doing that? So we have to really help tamp that down some and say, look, this is what we're doing. It's proven.
Yeah.
Okay. It's sound. This is what we're going to do. And then they start to see some results with that. And then they're bought into it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So now
Yeah,
let's
that,
go.
that's a big key when I almost asked the question like, how do you do that? Because you're right, they see all these other things, and you kind of want to like you kind of love the curiosity factor of it too, though, because that might be your
Oh,
future coach
yeah.
one day. But I think the real answer to all of that is exactly what you just said there. Show them results, and they don't. They'll be interested, but they're like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but I'm getting faster doing this stuff, or I'm throwing
Right.
farther doing this stuff. So I think that's a big key. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. And so as we started progressing through that and seeing when we came into this year, and again, I'm not a big mile split comparing points, see where we are. I do it, but it's not until later.
Yeah,
Now, some of
yeah.
my other coaches are like, Coach, we got a chance. Let's go. I'm like, okay, but let's just stay the course. Let's do what we're doing. Let's not over talk it to the kids because then they start putting pressure on themselves. And
Mm,
I've had a lot of coaches come up to me and say, Coach, I don't know what y'all do, but you are always ready for sectionals and state.
mhm.
We don't have a lot of failures. It's not like we come and we got a kid that's supposed to qualify and he doesn't
Right.
qualify.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
we end up having is kids who maybe shouldn't qualify or qualifying and then scoring points. Those are the kind of things that are happening. I
Hmm.
think the reason that is happening is because of our approach of how we look at the season, how we look at our training, how we're focused on ourselves, how we embrace our competitors.
Hmm.
We talk all the time about you need to embrace your competitors and be happy you're about to compete against them, not afraid
Hmm.
to compete against them. Don't be afraid to fail. We're all going to fail.
Hmm.
So, So those are things that we try to instill in them through talking, through just the structure of our program, what our expectations are there, what we expect them to do. I think all of that just comes together. And I kept saying last year it was very organic
Mhm.
as it just kind of formed there.
How do you, you mentioned social media, which connects us all, right? They can see a kid practicing in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Miami,
Right,
Florida, for crying out loud. But the area that you're in, while Birmingham is a big city, it's a very small city in the sense of like
right,
it's very easy for these kids to run into, pun intended, to the Mountain Brook kids or HT kids or Helena kids, etc.
right.
So some of them maybe are friends, and hopefully they're friends actually,
Yeah.
but so it's easy for them to chatter about, well, what do they do at Hoover and what do they do at Spain Park, et cetera, et cetera. Do you ever run into that aspect, like more like
Oh,
localized
yeah.
social media, if you will?
Absolutely. They talk, but they run together. Some
Yeah,
of the kids
yeah.
run together in the summer, and
Hmm.
they're all competitively friendly with each other.
Good,
They
good.
want to win. And, it can get a little edgy sometimes with certain kids, but for the most part, but yeah, we get that. This is what Hoover's doing. This is what Mountain Brook's doing. And we
Hmm.
look at those things.
Hmm.
Mike McGovern at Mountain Brooks, his girls' distance runners are phenomenal. And we are constantly looking at what they're doing, trying to figure out how we can instill that and maybe get that in our girls.
Hmm.
And, again, those are things that we're still working on,
Hmm.
building and getting where they need to be.
Hmm. So lead us up to like so that the senior class that won, uh give us a little bit of results driven in regards to like, okay, so 4 years ago, your first year as head coach, you qualified X amount of kids and got X place at state for track, and then keep building it. 'Cause I'm assuming, maybe
Okay.
bad assumption, maybe that it
So,
climbed up.
no. So it did climb up, but we have finished second or first in every season on the boys' side
Wow.
since we've been here. Cross country, indoor, outdoor,
Wow.
and it's been with Hoover or Huntsville. We
Hmm.
won cross country the last 2 years in a row, but we lost this year to Huntsville, and it was close. Hoover, I mean, they're just Hoover, and but we got them this year. And it took a big effort to do that. And of course, I don't know if you know that Devin Hine is back coaching Hoover
Yeah, I
this
think I knew
year.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I knew that.
So,
I
and I
may
love Devin.
I maybe didn't know that he wasn't coaching. How long was he not there?
Chris Smith was there for an
Okay.
extended period of time.
Okay.
Chris was there. He's probably been there 5 years. He
Okay.
was there 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have told you Devin the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
Do
great, I love Devin.
yeah, they're all, yeah, yeah. Do you guys, are you guys all in the same conference too? So like, do you guys see each other all the stinking time?
So yes, and we're all around. We're always running against each other. Sectionals. So at our sectional meet, it was us, Hoover, Hewitt Trustful, and that was the order. So we won state. Hoover was second. Hewitt Trustful was third at state. I mean, this is for Alabama the mecca
Yeah. Yeah.
it just is. And the other parts of the state don't like it, and I get it.
Yeah.
But we're just really lucky with the
Yeah.
resources that we have here to do the things that we do. So, go ahead.
Do you guys ever set up, like in college, a lot of I'll say a lot of times in college, it's not uncommon for a bunch of colleges that know we're all going to go to the Alabama relays. Hey, let's put together a good mile. Let's really attack the mile. Let's put all the,
Yes.
do you guys do that amongst
Yes,
your,
there'll be
yeah.
times
Hmm.
we'll talk about let's let our top milers run today, or let's put
Hmm.
together
Hmm.
our top 4x1 team.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
do talk about that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and that's fun.
Yeah.
And we have that kind of camaraderie. And again, I feel like I'm the guy from the outside because a lot of these guys have been here forever. They ran
Oh,
against
right.
each
Yeah, that's a
other in
great
high
point. Yeah.
school, but they have taken me in and just felt, made me feel great. They've helped me when I had questions. Um, like I said, I watch all of them and they
Hmm.
answer questions for me. So, but yeah, we have a real good relationship and we talk about those things and we
Yeah.
want what's best for our program, but for the program as a whole,
Hmm.
because you said it early on. I don't think Alabama track and field gets the due that it probably should.
Yeah.
Um, And I think part of that is that we don't have the ability to go to national meets the way we should be allowed to go to national meets
Mm.
because of some rules with the Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Is that right?
Uh,
So
yeah.
can you not go to like New Balance indoors, Nike indoors, things like
Oh,
that?
we did. We took kids to New Balance Nationals in Philadelphia this year.
Mhm.
We took girls to Oregon to Nike Nationals.
I'm talking about
But
indoors. Can you do it indoors?
we can do it indoors too, but
Okay.
here's the deal.
Yeah.
They can't, we can't, we're not supposed to coach them. They can't be in our gear.
Mm.
It's not so bad for indoor, it's for outdoor when it's middle of June and now they're supposed to go be coached or be coached on their own that we can't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if they would allow us to be, we go and run Nike cross country regionals,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's in a completely different uniform, different name. Parents have to handle. I go, I'm going to
Yeah.
go, but I don't
Yeah.
have on anything that says Vestavia. But
Yeah.
so I think that's a
It's
little
it's dumb about that because unfortunately Alabama's not the only state like that, and I
right.
believe there's other states that are much more progressive in that. What's
Yeah,
dumb about that, they I believe they do it in the name of kind of two things. One is uh, uh, not necessarily safety of the kid, although that is one of the reasons, but
right,
that they do it like, oh well, we want kids to play other sports, so we don't want an overbearing cross country coach to take them all these meets and they never get to go play volleyball or whatnot.
right,
That's ridiculous. Two is they think they're doing it for safety, like, oh well, they need time off. Well, here's the thing, because of and I don't even want to call them loopholes because that kind of infers that there's like there's a cheating aspect to
right.
it. But you're doing all the rules correctly. You change your uniform. You don't run under Vestavia. The parents have to do all this stuff. You're just making people jump through hoops that are just making things harder, more expensive, and less safe. By the way, that's the real
100%.
aspect of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's just I see. I don't get. I see why states do this. I don't get it, especially and I'm a big fan of multi-sport athletes.
Oh, yeah.
But if a kid is going to, if a kid decides they want to run year round, a distance kid across indoor and outdoor, then they should be allowed to do that. And God bless, we need more school pride type things. So why aren't they doing it under their school's name to
100%.
help with recruiting, etc.? I mean,
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they're a Vestavia Hills kid one day and the next day they're a Viper because they have to run under a track
right.
squad or whatever. It's
And then the fact that we're not
frustrating.
supposed to coach them and that impacts the safety
Yeah,
part of
I
it
was gonna
too.
say, take away the guy or gal who knows what they're doing coaching wise, and say you can't do
Right,
it. How's that
right,
safe for the kid?
right.
That's what I
Yeah,
say. I
not.
understand, but I don't get why
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing that. Yeah. Well, okay. So 2024, did the boys win state?
So we won state just this year. We were second in 24,
Wow.
second in 23,
Wow.
second in 22,
Oh, dude.
second in 21. I mean, we have been there's more stuff up here than we have three opportunities every year, cross
Right.
country, indoor and outdoor, to win a trophy. And with this class that graduated last year, I don't know if we can keep that trend going. We're going to work really hard to, but yeah.
Oh,
So but that's been a building process. But
yeah.
this year was a little different
Yeah. Okay. That's where I was
because
going. Yep. Love it.
this year is a little different because I think we all knew that we had a shot at Hoover. If some things went right for us,
Yeah.
if some kids stepped up and really started to do some things, we could make this happen. Could we make the 4x1 team what it's supposed to be?
Mhm.
Could we, in triple jump, do what we're supposed to do? Can we get some points here and there where we hadn't in the past? Those were all things we knew in the throws. I mean, that's an area where I have great coaches, but we're still just developing those kids
Right.
but they're getting better and better and better. So
Yeah.
how are they going to perform at state? And so I think everybody knew that. And the thing that was really cool is the kids embraced it. They weren't like all bungeed up and nervous. They were like, "Hey, let's go!" And that's from the staff
Yeah.
because that's how we want to look at it.
Yeah.
And we're friends with the Hoover staff, and their tents right next to ours along the fence. We have all the tents and stuff out there, and so it's a great fun competition. But
Yeah.
but we knew in the back of our head that this could be it. And then it became really obvious that we had a solid chance after the second day, and then we wrapped it up strong on the third day.
You know, I was listening to you talk about, hey, I thought we had a chance this year, and we were talking about, and I was waiting for you to slip up, but you didn't, my man. You walked the walk. What I was waiting for you to say, because you said you made a big deal earlier about, you know what, we focus on ourselves. I can't control what Hoover does. I can't control
Right.
Northbrook, et cetera. So we're going to, and I was waiting as you were saying, develop our throwers. I was waiting for you to
Right.
say, and you know what, we knew Hoover graduated this many senior, like you walked the walk, my friend. I wanted to point that out.
I believe it.
I appreciate that. You were your thoughts about winning this year were all about what can we do as a
That's
staff.
right.
So second place, second place, second place, second place. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how frustrating that can be. I would love to be in that opportunity. I've never gotten even second place, but so I can only imagine. So what was different? What did you qualified more events? Did you have a kid that, you know what, he was picked to be here? Yeah, we're talking about the boys team. He
Right.
was picked to not even make the finals, and he wins the stinking thing. What was different? And when did you? Because you said in the second day you started realizing like, oh, we actually might do this thing.
Yeah.
Where was the inflection and what happened there?
So with the relays are always really important to us. We knew we've been the kings of 4x8 up until last year. I mean, we ran a 7:32 in the 4x8 out at Nike Nationals 3 years ago now, I guess. And that was like the second fastest time ever at that point. And so we've had some kids like that. Well, the last couple of years we hadn't been as good, but we still are scoring points. So this year's 4x8 stepped up and got second place when I think they were seeded to be fifth or sixth, something
Yeah.
like that. Our 4x1 team, which Delandis O'Neill, my sprint coach, who ran at Mississippi State,
I was gonna say I
uh,
know that name. That's where I coached at was Mississippi
Delandis,
State.
yeah,
Yeah.
Delandis, yeah. So Delandis is my sprint coach, and he does a phenomenal job with them. And he is uber intentional with our sprint, with our 4x1 team and our 4x4 team, and does a great job. And we won the 4x1 against teams that, if you looked at us and looked at them, you go, no, they're not winning, and we won. So those kind of things were happening um, in the hurdles, so in the hurdles, let me see. So we were sixth and seventh in the
Mhm.
hurdles, but those points are so crucial for us. Those are double points in that event. So when I look at my list of people who qualified and then how many actually scored in each event, that was the difference. That was the formula. So I'm not tripping up here, but I'm just learning from Hoover. That's the formula that Hoover
Yeah,
has
yeah,
is
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah, yeah.
qualify bunches of kids in bunches of events. They don't have to win them all, but they're
Right.
scoring in them.
Right.
And it just adds up. And we knew as we're going through the year, we're looking at different things. We're like, okay, and my long jumper, like he should win the long jump if he has a good day. And he's not a kid that only jumps 24:10 once. I mean, he's jumping into the 24. He's a high 23 consistent jumper and then pops off into the 24s. I mean, that's what we were looking for, that consistent performance level and then pop it off. And so we knew that we felt good about that.
Yeah.
I personally think it's easier to predict what's going to happen with your distance runners as opposed to your sprints and your jumps and your throws. I think those elements and those disciplines, there are a lot of variables that can impact how those things
Mhm,
go.
mhm.
And they went well for us. There was only one area that was really disappointing in the jumping area, and that was triple jump. Our kid, he fouled 3 times, but
Mm.
at the end, it didn't kill us, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Good. Good. So I'm not hearing a super stud. And what I mean by, I hate labels like that, but what I mean by that is you always had really good kids and, you had
right,
state champions, but I'm not hearing like you mentioned Ethan Strand, which this was news to me, went to Vestavia Hills. I assume, this could be a bad assumption, that he won the 2 mile and the mile and probably contributed on a 4x8 or something like that. That's a super stud,
right,
like, two
right.
event winner or three
Yeah,
event
yeah.
winner. I'm not hearing that you had,
So the two kids that are going to Sanford, so that's Chase Webb, 100, 200, 4x1. He scored points for us in all three of those events.
but he didn't win the 100 and the 200.
So he won the 200.
Okay.
He finished. So he won the 200. He finished second in the 100.
Okay. Yeah. 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 And then won the
And
four by
then,
one. Okay. Yeah.
right.
That's
Yeah.
close
I mean,
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And then Jack Stubbs, my
Yeah.
long jumper, he finished in fourth in the 100 and sixth in the 200. He was on the 4x1 team,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he won the long jump. So I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah,
those two
those add
kids were
up. Yeah,
strong. They
yeah,
do. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because I just think about these kids that they win the mile, 2 mile, and 800. That's not unheard of. Or the one,
Right.
two, and the long jump. And it's like, man, a team like has 30 points in one kid. That's hard to beat when you
Yeah,
also
yeah.
have some. But and you had at least one kind of like that. But you got like a bunch of it sounds like a bunch of sixth and seventh places and third and
Exactly.
eighth.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And this adds up. And
Yeah.
that's what's going to be this year, probably even more this year. We're going to be dependent on the fourth and fifth, the third and eighth. Um, uh, and I think we have the potential to do that, but it's going to be, we're going to have to do some work to get it done that way. But we've
So
got good kids.
after 3 years of second place, when did you know that you had it locked up? And maybe it wasn't until the 4x4. And what did that feel like when you knew we've gotten over little hump 2-1, but that's a big
Right.
little hump.
Right. So it was about midway through the third day. I'm trying to remember what event it was that we locked it up. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but I do remember when I was standing on the track side of the fence, and I was standing by where our Big Ten is there, and all the
Where,
kids were there.
where state is it? Gulf Shores?
Gulf
Yeah.
Shores,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
And
Okay.
we have those big event tents, and
Mhm.
everybody's underneath there. And I can't remember what event it was, but I remember very distinctly the kids just when they realized it. And all I did was is I just started walking because I wanted to just walk for a second and watch and listen to them. And then I just needed a second to take it all in because I mean those things don't happen a lot. And I wanted to make sure that I took it in. I appreciated the moment because again, it's going to be all different this year. And so I took it all in, and I was just so proud of the kids. I was proud of my staff, and what we had accomplished. And then Chris Smith and the Hoover staff, they were all, hugging us and just,
Oh,
I mean, it's just, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a little emotional for me
yeah.
just because I hadn't won a bunch of I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
won any championships until I came to Vestavia
Yeah.
outside of helping kids with individual stuff. So
You're a great example. I will say it till I'm blue in the face that I think in track it's more pronounced. I think we forget how hard it is to win. And I say that because, we have, what, 16, 17, 18 events, every, boys, another 17, 18, whatever on the girls. We always have event winners. So we're always, typically celebrating someone's winning something. And, on the high school level, we do probably a better job of team titles and stuff for different meets,
right.
invitationals, and of course, conference, regionals, etc. And so we forget winning a state title is hard. You're a great example of second place, second place, second place. Good teams, by the way. Second place, second place, second place.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah.
hard. So I tip my hat off. Anybody who wins a state title, conference title, they're all hard. They're all hard in their different respects, and have so much like in awe of those teams that do 4, 5, 6 years in a row. Because it's like, man, every one of those is hard. And by the way, everyone's a different team. You graduate kids stop doing their
Yeah,
sport, etc. New kids transfer in. It's a different team every time. That's unbelievable. That's just a whole different world there.
it is.
So I love and appreciate your, almost like taking that step back and like, let me see how the team react. I want to take it all in and soak it in. And that just forms so many great memories for you to have there.
Yeah, it was exciting. And even the year before when we finished second, we were neck and neck with James Clemens for second and third.
Hmm.
And I'm telling the kids, this is what we want. We want to have a competitive situation. It came down to the 4x4.
Oh, nice.
And Max Armstrong had to come from a pretty good distance behind to catch the James Clement kid to secure second place for us. But I love that competition. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
Even though it was for second place, it was the joy of
Yeah.
us getting it. And their coach was the same way. I mean, we just love that competition and pushing each other to be better. Now, it's always nice to bring the trophy home. Everybody goes, yeah, that's really easy for you to say because you're bringing the trophy home. I get it.
Yeah.
Ask me, this year when we don't bring one home, how I feel. But
Right.
that's, I really believe that.
Yeah, I think that's true. You see kids in the 4x4 is a great example. You see kids in the 4x4 that it means everything to the world to them to win or get second, and they are eighth in the team. Like they're not even trying for a team
Right.
title at that point. That means something. That's part of what makes our sport a heck of a lot better than a lot of
Oh,
other sports out there.
100%.
Do you remember how many events, at least the 4x4 was still left after you had already known that you were going to win, correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah,
How do
there's
you,
like one or two events. It may have just been the four by
I
four.
was gonna say, so
I just can't
let's
remember. Yeah.
let's maybe focus on the 4x4 then. How do you keep, I mean, we're dealing with 14, 18-year-old kids, man. Even my college coaches, I always remind them, like, I know they're little grown adults because they're 22 years old or whatever when they become seniors, but
Right.
they're still kids. They're still kids.
Right.
So you're dealing with, 14, 18-year-old kids. How do you keep that group of four or five, you're going to run four out of maybe five or six kids.
Right.
How do you keep them motivated knowing that they know it don't matter if I get 0 points or 10 points, we still winning the trophy, we're getting the ring, baby. How do you
That's
keep them
right.
motivated to still do their best and come, I don't want to say come out on top because that may not be the place that they get, but just to still do their best, to still try.
Uh, Delandis O'Neal, my sprint coach. He instills in them a sense of pride no matter what the situation is, no matter what we're doing, we're going to be our very best. We finished fourth in the 4x4 in the first heat. So, because the week before we held somebody out that had a little hamstring issue, so we didn't have the best qualifying time to get into last. So we won the first heat, and so we finished fourth overall. And that was simply because those kids had pride in all the work they've done, and they wanted to win from that heat. That's what they were trying to do.
Hmm.
And that's an area that we're going to get better this year in the 400. We didn't score in the 400. We finished 11th and 21st with some young kids in the 400. So that's an area that we'll get better in as we go forward this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about because, kind of a equivalent example and question would be like for a football team, you're up 56-14 with 4 minutes to go. It's like, they all know the game's over. But then, you rally around to, some of the more stereotypical football type things you would say, step on their necks and, score 80
Right.
on them and all this kind of stuff. You just don't have that. And for the better, by the way, you don't have that in
Yes.
track and field. You don't say, 4x4, put 10 more points on them, step on their neck. It's, you don't do that.
Right.
But so you have to motivate them in a different way. Again, they know they're not dumb. They are smart kids. They know
So they know.
we dropped the baton. It don't matter, dog. We
That's right.
winning, and that's what. And by the way, that's what we talked all year about coaches winning the team title, right? So
That's right.
that's got to be tough to motivate that they still want to go out and put their best foot forward
Yeah.
and don't have regrets on that team. That may be your teammates'
Exactly.
only way to become an all-state kid is
Right.
the run that. So that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what a fun stinking year! Holy
That was
cow!
fun. It was great. It was just a lot of fun, and there was a lot of joy in it. We talk a lot about, if you don't have joy in what you're doing, don't do it. And I have to do that with me. I've been coaching. This is my 32nd year of teaching
Right,
and
right,
coaching.
right.
And I've got to make sure that I'm finding the joy in what I'm doing because it's a lot of time. I've been here
It
since
is.
5:45 this morning,
Yeah.
and that's on a regular basis. So, and the kids need to have that joy. And sometimes we have to really coach the kids on how to stop comparing themselves to
Oh
others
man, dude.
and stop making yourself be a track and field person and nothing else. You're so much more than that. And we've had some success with getting kids to realize, oh, okay, I'm more than just a track. And it's opened up their whole world. They've become better athletes. They perform better when they're just not, but they're like bungeed up trying
Yeah.
to run because this is who I am. If I don't, I'm going to be ranked third. And that's how people are going to look. So That's a
Bro,
big part of.
when you figure out that algorithm, you teach it to me because that is one of my number one um, objectives with coaches. When you talk about identity, it's very easy for us that our number one identity becomes coach. Think about this. It's one of the only two three. I think someone taught me an actual third career job where your title goes with you everywhere you go, right? If you're, your neighbors probably call you coach, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
they don't know you as a coach. You're
Right.
not
That's
coaching
right.
them, but it's coach. If your neighbor is a doctor, you probably call them, hey, doctor, right?
That's right. What's up, Doc? Right.
Yeah, what's up, doc? And then I always said those two, and then someone reminded me, like, oh, like reverend, like a pastor. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
there you go.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's. If I saw my pastor on the streets, I'm like, hey, pastor, how you doing?
Right. That's right.
But you don't call, if your neighbor is an accountant, you don't call, hey, accountant Bill. No one calls me salesman Mike or whatever. Uh, and so we can very easily make that our number one most prioritized title. And there's no bigger fan than track and field coaches than this guy sitting right here in this chair. Trust me. I think it's maybe your fourth or fifth most important title because you're a son, you're a husband, you're a father, maybe a brother, a neighbor. There are so many things that are way more important. Being a spouse, being a
Oh,
son, a father, that's way more important than
yeah.
being a coach. But boy, it's real easy to kind of hide from some of those things and all under the umbrella of coach. And I am just
Yeah.
constantly with our coaches of having a healthy. At the end of the day, I know it's a passion. I get that. By the way, there are other things that are passions that it's still a job. It's still a
It
job. And
is.
again, no bigger fan than this guy right here. It is
No.
still a job, guys and gals that are out there. It's not who you are. I care way more about Richard than I care about Coach Anderson. And trust me, my whole life is around Coach Anderson, by the way, through equipment and things like that. My life runs on
Yeah.
that, but I care way more about Richard than Coach. And we need our coaches to have finding joy. I love what you said there. Continue to find joy in what you do, that it's a job, it's an end to the means. The money is important because that's how you take care of your family, your passions,
Right.
your charities,
That's
etc.
right.
And kind of getting course corrected on priorities that are out there. So yeah, you find out how to do that with your kids in a very successful way. You teach me because I want to help
I
teach
will.
more and more coaches, my
I,
man.
I I'm constantly checking in with my coach. I have a lot of contract coaches like Delandis that
Mhm.
has another job, and I'm constantly Delandis. I need to know if you can't be here today, that's fine.
Right.
I need you to take care of your family. You got two young kids.
Yeah.
I've got other coaches. I said, if you've got something to do, go do that.
Yeah.
That's I want you to be happy here. I don't want it to be a burden at home. We want
Right.
mama to be happy at home
Yep. Yep.
and support you with what you're doing. And it's the same thing with the kids too. We have to be really careful. We spend a lot of time with the kids, and I want to be very economical in how we spend our time, very intentional
Yeah.
how we spend our time and not waste a lot of time.
Yeah, I love that. You're definitely on the right track, pun intended there. I love that. All right, let's start wrapping up here a little bit. So
All right.
when you're listening to this, next week is the USTFCCCA convention. You're going to be there, yes?
I'm going to be there and I get to speak. Woo, woo. Let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Will this be your first convention,
It'll be my first convention. I have looked at it for years. The
bro?
problem is it's the week of finals.
Hmm.
And so I hadn't been able to get away. And
Yeah.
I used to go when I was a football coach to the American Football Coaches
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Association,
Hmm.
which is very similar to this.
Yep.
So I am stoked
You're
and
gonna
ready to
love
go,
it.
man. I'm excited.
The same feeling and value that you talked about with the youth specialization on exploded up 10x.
Right. Yeah.
So many great speakers, so many great
Yeah.
topics, so many great events that they do there. The most famous part of it is that what we call the hallway talks. There's just you'll be walking down to go to a class and there's just people talking,
Yeah.
introducing yourself. You don't seem like you're gonna have a problem introducing yourself to a lot of people. So you're gonna just be on such a high after that week,
I
man.
will. It's gonna be fun. I got family coming. Everybody's like, "We're coming out." I'm like, "Okay." They said the little presentation is not going to take very long, but they're all coming out. So I'm excited that they're coming, and they're excited for me. And like you said earlier, family. I'm a husband. I'm a father. My dad lives with us, so I'm his son every day. When I walk through the house, I
Oh,
get to see my dad. He comes up and eats with us. He's 88 years old, and
dude.
so and I have all those things, and for them to celebrate this with me is really important. The only thing I wish is I could take my whole staff with me because
Yeah.
it's really about them,
Yeah.
and us, the we part of it. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
honored to take it for them.
It's so hard. I can't imagine the committee. First of all, to even pick the state coaches of the year. Some, like you mentioned, we just talked about a ton of great coaches just in the state of
Yeah.
Alabama, and somehow they picked you. That's amazing to me. Now you've gone to and you've picked 50 amazing boys coaches and 50 amazing girls coaches, and now the committee has to boil that down to one.
Yeah.
It is an impossible task. They're always going to get it wrong and always get it right,
Right.
if that makes sense, right?
Makes sense.
It's really unbelievable. That's why I love some college conferences. I don't know if we're doing this on the high school level, but some, only a few, and I would love for this to become a trend. Some college conferences now, instead of giving out a coach of the year award, they give out a staff of the year award.
Yes.
And that is like, the first time I saw that, I was like,
Yes.
bro, I was like, no matter,
That's
again, I'm big on leadership. So the head coach, leadership is so important, and what you do is tremendous. But if my throws coach doesn't step up, or my distance coach, or whatever, it can't be just you
it's
and your
it can't.
athletes. So I
Yeah.
love staffs of the
Yeah.
year.
I like that.
I wish there was some way, and again, it's just impossible. But if the national coaches of the year were national coaching staffs or something, but I tell you, all the great ones, they have always thanked their staff. I've yet to have
100%.
a guy or gal on the show that said, "Oh yeah, you know what I did? I did this and that and that." It's always been, "Yeah, I did these things, and thank God I had a staff around me to move forward with it and to help
That's
me do
right.
this and help me do
Yeah.
that." So, and that's obviously the case there at Vestavia Hill. So, man, I'm so pumped to meet you in person, to see you there. I
That'll be
can't wait
fun.
to see
Yeah.
you there. Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll have a great time. It is I call it my Super Bowl weekend. I've
I
got
can't wait.
a thousand plus coaches. No one's at a track meet, so they're not all stressed out. They're not worried about their kids. It's season hasn't really started, so they kind of let their hair
Right.
down. And man, it's just a great time to re-engage with great friends in this industry, meet new
Yeah.
people, and just have a good time around this great
Yeah.
sport and this great profession, man. And I'm excited for you to be there. That'll be fun.
I'm glad to be there, and I really appreciate this opportunity. I love to talk about my team and what we do, so I
I love it.
appreciate it.
I love it. That's great. Well, I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate you guys being here listening. So again, when you're listening to this, I think it's going to be next week. Next Monday is when the USTFCCCA convention starts. That night, so Monday night, it's been kind of a tradition. I think this is year number 4. We'll do a live taping of the Gill Connections podcast. You're going to have to, if you're there by Monday night, you're going to have to come join us, Richard.
I'll be there.
We set up the podcast and we invite coaches in for 5 to 10 minutes. Just try to get as many people in the 2-hour window that we
Cool.
have,
Yeah.
and do it live, so you never know what
That's
happens.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is a lot of fun. And then we have, of course, the Coaches of the Year awards. We have the Hall of Fame Coaches Awards. We have the Bowerman, of course. Man,
Yeah.
it is such a great time. So if you're there in Dallas for the first time and forever, if you're there in person, drop by and see us in the booth. Come see us Monday night for the Gill podcast. If you're not there, check us out live on YouTube. That day, you'll have some social media posts from me. I learned this guy doesn't have any social media, so you won't hear anything from him, but you will from me on that. And we'll have a good time. And of course, we'll have our normal Monday Gill Connections podcast next week as well for a coach for that week that will uplift and honor. So, man, thank you so much for being here, Richard. Thank you so much. Again, the most valuable thing you can give me is your time. And you made me cringe a little bit when you said you've been there since 5:45, and it is literally 5:45. You've been there for 12 hours, and a couple hours were spent with me, and I'm so
That's
grateful
all
for
right.
that.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Join us next week. We'll do it all over again. See ya.